Josh Allen is the best football player on the planet. And when he's playing like that, the Bills can really accomplish anything.
He just showed that he's the greatest dual threat quarterback that we've ever seen. And I'm glad that he's a Buffalo Bill and we can watch him every week.
Not only is Josh Allen the greatest football player on the planet, I would contend that the three other great quarterbacks at the moment won't be part of the AFC playoff picture, which is a huge score for the Buffalo Bills. The path to the Super Bowl has never been more wide open than it is in 2025.
This is Broken Table. Hein, Stevie, AK, you just nailed it. And also of that fun fact, Josh Allen has beaten those three quarterbacks. Yeah. He's beaten Lamar Jackson. He's beaten Patrick Mahomes. He's beaten Joe Burrow. And you've set the table perfectly. Tell me, this guy just did 4 hours of radio this morning and he's already setting the table for Broken Table right now.
Ready to rock, man. Again, you consider what the Buffalo Bills have accomplished, beating those three quarterbacks this year, and they still almost certainly won't win the division. I'm not even sure how that's possible, but that is a reality. Although it's not done yet,
yes,
it's still quite a difficult task for Buffalo to do so. But who cares? If the Bills win the division, great. If they don't, their path to potentially a 4-5 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers team, you'd love to see them in round one. Maybe you go to Denver, maybe you go to New England in round two. Again, I think this bracket is setting up so well for the Buffalo Bills because they have the best player in the conference. And when you have the best player in the conference, by a pretty wide margin, I would contend anything is possible for this team this year.
Yeah, hey, considering the New England Patriots is our next opponent, and that's the team that beat us, that's the only team that I'm a little bit concerned about. But we can eliminate some of that concern, with this upcoming game. The Houston Texans just beat the Kansas City Chiefs and look like they're going to be playing their way into the playoffs. And that's a team that beat our Bills. And that's the team that I'm looking forward to matching up with in the playoffs. All the other AFC teams, I'm not really worried about, to be honest.
I completely agree with you, Stevie. I am afraid of the Texans. We talked about it before. Our social clip from last week was, who do we fear? And you and Davis both said the Texans. And I think that's very fair with what we just saw them do to Mahomes. I think like Mahomes, it was his worst basically the worst statistical game of his career. And Josh Allen had a similar type of performance against Houston.
What's the difference between Houston and Denver? I feel like they're the exact same team.
Houston's defense is better.
Pretty close, though. Pretty close.
It is close, but we saw the Bills block that that Denver front four last year in the playoffs. And I know it was a year ago, but we saw them hold up against that. And I have faith in Houston's offense being able to they look like they got things going yesterday a little bit when they needed to. And I trust their offense more than I trust Bo Nix.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And I think when you just look at it in totality, it's Josh Allen against Nix, against May, against Stroud, against Herbert, against Trevor Lawrence or Aaron Rodgers or, whatever Lamar Jackson is. The Bills have a huge advantage there, I think, in almost every instance. And if that's the case, they have a great chance to win. I think they'll be at very close, if not favored, in every single one of these games. On the road, at home, I'm not sure it matters. Buffalo, everything's trending in a very positive direction. And is this a perfect team? No, by any stretch, but they've got the perfect player under center.
And this year in the AFC, you don't need a perfect team. It's wide open. It's lined up for them. And if we check the odds, the Bills are currently co-favorites to win the AFC.
Crazy.
But Stevie, let's get into Allen a little bit because just in that second half alone, 13 of 15, 239 total yards, 3 total touchdowns, 150.4 passer rating. And it was the way he made the plays, the long run. Even if you look at the first quarter, that throw to Shakir, like when he's playing at this level, does it even matter what the rest of the team is doing?
No, it actually doesn't matter, and that's how good he is because he makes everybody else look good if you just play your part, do your job and play your role in the offense. And this offense is a tight end driven offense. And with that being said, Coach Brady dialed it up, and Josh Allen executed every fake, every time you thought that he was looking downfield, but he was already set up to throw to the flats. He set it up perfectly. The timing was on, and everything was clicking for Josh to make all the other guys look really well.
Let's give some credit to Joe Brady and to that entire coaching staff because you nailed it, Stevie. Cincy was the worst team at defending tight ends in the NFL, and they dialed it up all game. Dawson Knox career game. Kincaid, whatever, ho-hum 4 for 41, hit is over. That was my big bet of the week for sure. And even Haas caught the touchdown. So they were feeding the tight ends. They knew that was a weakness, but also credit to McDermott. He knew going into that game, my defense isn't really going to be able to stop Joe Burrow. Went for it on multiple fourth downs, but even that crucial 3rd and 15, how many times in the past and how many coaches will you do run a safe little draw or something? He knew, hey, we need to try to end this game right now. And 3rd and 15, when you have a guy like Josh Allen, doesn't really matter that much, as he proved.
There have been so many times throughout the history of this show, we've been very critical of Sean McDermott, and rightfully so. He's far from a perfect coach. I thought he was outstanding yesterday. Not only what you're referencing with your approach to aggressiveness, but also the way that they adjusted in the second half, because it looked like it was going to be impossible for the Bills to get a stop on Burrow and company on offense. And then they have the back-to-back interceptions. Christian Benford, I mean, what a massive play that was, the 63-yard pick six.
It's arguably swung the whole season.
It absolutely did. I completely agree. Statistically, it's got to be one of the most impactful plays that we've seen.
In terms of the win probability.
Exactly. And then, of course, the Jordan Phillips, AJ Epinesa, the next drive. I mean, those two plays on defense were huge. And kudos to McDermott and company for figuring out a way to slow Burrow, because it didn't look like that was going to be possible in the first half.
Look, a little insight on that. So I did the post-game show with Buffalo End Zone, and they asked about that 3rd and 15 play. So the cool thing about that is the play was totally different. Josh said he went up to the line and he saw something else and he checked out and put his running back in a different route. He put I believe he said a tight end in a different route, and everything opened up for him. Now, when I heard him say that, I said, bingo, there it is. That's the evolution of the playmaker, of the manager, Josh Allen. And that was everything. And it showed, it showed with his playmaking ability.
And that was something, Stevie, that you've been asking for all year. You were saying a lot of times, like, if your coaches aren't setting you up for success, it's on Josh to go and take the reins. And that example on that 3rd and 15 is exactly what you've been asking for all year.
Indeed. And yeah, because the coaches, they give you the playbook, they give you, the rules on how to do things, but it's really on you when you go out there to either bend the rules a little bit. Like another tidbit, Christian Benford, the interception that he had, he said on that post-game show, his job was not to jump at all on that blitz because he's responsible for the run. But when you let guys be guys and let the dogs be dogs, you let them play and compete. And we saw what it turned into. 60% of the time is going to be good for you if you be physical and let the guys play ball. But if you don't and try to protect them and play off, that 50-50 ball is more so for the offensive side, if you think on the defensive mind.
Now, let's just get into Christian Benford here real quick. 16 matchups against Jamar Chase. 2 targets, 0 receptions, 1 pick six. Also, 0 receptions on 3 targets, over 35 coverage snaps. People want to, and we've been guilty of this, of criticizing Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane gave Christian Benford a contract, 4 years, 76 mil, just around 19 mil a year. I think Derek Stingley is the top corner in football, making 30 mil. That is a bargain of a contract for 3 more years. Christian Benford is an all-pro cornerback, I think, if the season ended today.
Yeah, Jamar Chase. I mean, we've seen what he's done to Buffalo over the years. We've seen what he's done to every single team around the NFL. Benford was outstanding all day long. And this guy, that play he made, I still can't believe it. It was one of the most stunning plays that I can recall, in that Burrow looked completely untouchable. And all of a sudden, Benford's running the other way. Jamar's chasing him down, and he's unable to catch him. What a massive play in a huge moment for Christian Benford. And who knows, you mentioned it, maybe the TSN turning point of the season for the Buffalo Bills, because without that play, I don't think the Buffalo Bills win that football game.
100%. And it's funny, I got a text right after being like, is this the first thing we see in the Bills championship DVD when we're watching that? And honestly, it very well might be, because without that play, they probably, like, the James Cook fumble happens at the goal line and you're thinking, not again, we're really going to lose this. And now I'm looking at that Pats game next week, and it's like, even the division's up in the air. Like, anything is possible with this Bills team because of the plays that, like, a Christian Benford is making and a Josh Allen is making.
Yeah, well, Christian Benford, I just want to add this, because the numbers that he's putting in and week out is similar to Richard Sherman and Darrelle Revis. He's got to be mentioned with those guys, and I hope he understand that is the position that he's in with the talented receivers that he's been matching up with after that Atlanta game where he's been really shadowing guys. I did see a little bit of last game where he lined up on the outside against a guy who wasn't the guy, and I didn't like that at all. What did the Cincinnati Bengals do? They took advantage of it immediately. When the defensive backs of the Buffalo Bills played off coverage, the Cincinnati Bengals took advantage of it immediately. Christian Benford is a game changer, and you got to shadow him on the best guys because he's built for it. And, we'll see how it goes next week with Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins and Boutte.
Well, it's funny because we talk about the Buffalo Bills, their second half performance, especially on defense. In the first half, it did not go well.
Nope.
And this has been a common theme with the Buffalo Bills this season is their second halves are dramatically different than their first.
Halftime adjustments. McDermott's been killing it there.
Yeah, and listen, you deserve a lot of credit for making the halftime adjustments. But at the same time, I mean, what about the first half?
Yeah, I guess.
It's like maybe you want to try something different in the first half that would maybe not allow you to be in the hole that you're in, which the Buffalo Bills have found themselves in. So, Stevie, is it just halftime adjustments? Is there something else there with the Bills, why they seem to start slowly on defense and figure it out as the game goes on?
Yeah, I'm going to have to credit the halftime adjustments, because it looked like to me, first and second down, the defense was playing really good. They played press, they mixed it up a little bit. And then when it got to third down, the same thing I saw was off soft coverage, and the Bengals took advantage of it. After that half, well, actually, it was the series before the half was when they said, you know what, let's mix it up. I'm going to press coverage. I'm going to send some pressure. And I believe we either got a sack or something. We ended up getting a stop, actually. They were 7 for 7. Then they ended up not getting a third down conversion before the half. And then they carried that over into the second half.
There was a third down in the first half, and I saw someone tweeted out, sorry, I forgot who it was. I can't give credit. But it was basically just shades of Leslie Frazier all over again. You saw, it was like a 3rd and 5, and you saw everybody 10 yards off. And that changed in the second half. And yes, like, first of all, credit to Burrow. Burrow belongs in the conversation as one of the 3 best quarterbacks in football. And yeah, he really carved you up. But what defense, what secondary is going to stop Burrow, right? Like maybe someone like Houston with that pass rush can contain him, but Burrow would have kind of done that to anybody. And going into the game, the Bills' pass defense, Davis sort of chirped me for this last week, but statistically, the Bills were the best pass defense in the NFL in terms of pass yards allowed per game. And it was the rush defense was bad. Well, the rush defense yesterday, 62 yards rushing allowed on 19 carries, 3.3 yards per carry. Now, Cincy, one of the worst running teams in football. So good on you for that. And yeah, he carved you up, but he's going to carve up everybody.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the weather was not exactly pristine.
Didn't matter to those two quarterbacks.
Well, it didn't matter. And the fact that they put up, 73 points combined is incredible. I mean, it was snowing pretty hard.
The total was up to 54.5, I think, by kickoff. Yeah. So it didn't even matter.
I mean, Stevie, I'm curious to know. I mean, you played in Buffalo a long time. What was the craziest snow game that you experienced? Is there something that you could point out to us in the audience?
Well, no, it was a craziest game was the Indianapolis Colts when Terrell Owens played on the team. I actually didn't play in this game. I pulled up to the stadium and I was inactive, but I don't want to be on the brink of getting cut in half and play in this type of weather. So it was one of them things where I was happy for it. But yeah, T.O. actually had to reverse that game and scored. It was pretty cool. It looks great though.
Honestly, I gotta say, like that type of, I was upset that I wasn't in the stadium yesterday.
Sure.
It was a disappointment. Those type of games are so much fun. You just need to just bring the piece of cardboard to separate your feet from the concrete, because that's what'll go first. Your feet get cold first, and it can ruin the whole day. Real quick on the defense. And Stevie, you've been shouting out Shaq Thompson all year. He has completely changed this run defense. When he's playing, the run splits are completely different than when it's Terrell Bernard. Now, Terrell Bernard is really good against the pass. Do you think the Bills should maybe sort of platoon the two of them when Bernard's healthy? Sort of like how an NBA coach will go offense, defense at the end of the game, where it's like, okay, if we think they're going to run the ball, we're going to play base and Shaq's that guy, versus now it's pass defense, let's get Bernard in there. Is that something that you could see them doing?
Oh, heck yeah, for sure. That's what they definitely should do when you have a package like this. Usually teams will have maybe 2 guys, 3 guys, not in the same position though. With the Buffalo Bills, we have 4 guys, if you include Dorian Williams, who's also a vicious defender and who can attack the ball. So with this problem, I would say, it's a quote unquote problem. It's a good thing to have. You have to utilize packages. Why? Because guys get burnt out, especially when you play the linebacker position the way Matt Milano plays it like a bullet, the way Terrell Bernard played like a bullet. Shaq, he does the same thing. However, he's a little more seasoned, a former first-round pick that's been through the league. He's more vocal. He's going to be very beneficial for guys like Dorian Williams, even Matt Milano. Hopefully, they restructure contracts to keep this group together because they gel well with each other.
Okay, I'm going to transition real quick back to Alan with one question for both of you guys. If you were to redraft the entire NFL, who would you take first overall?
And you're including age into this equation?
I think you need to factor in where they are now, age. So that's like someone like Stafford, who's having the best year at quarterback this year, I think is kind of disqualified because what's he got left? 1 or 2 years left?
Maybe, yes.
So yeah, definitely factor age and all of that in here.
I hate to say this on Broken Table, but Drake May, does he not go number 1? He's 23 years old.
For me, I think, and we talked about this a little bit before, if we were to ask this question last year, some people might have said Jaden Daniels.
Definitely.
So I think for someone like Drake May, I want to see it in the playoffs before I commit. My answer, I think it's between two guys. I think it's Josh Allen and it's Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett?
Myles Garrett is doing this year is on another level, and I would put defensive end as the only other position that is as impactful as quarterback. But that is why I would say it has to be Josh Allen. No one's playing football better than him. The things he can do, he's a unicorn. He's so unique. And he's still at an age where I think this prime can still carry on for 5 more years. If I'd seen a playoff run from Drake May, I would consider that a little more.
I hope we don't see a playoff run from Drake May. I hope that's the conversation we don't have to have until next year. I think that's an interesting. Garrett is not someone I consider because I feel like you have to go quarterback.
I think you kind of do too, but if you're but Garrett is the only other position, and he's playing at a level that no quarterback is reaching. What he's doing totally as an edge rusher.
Stevie, where are you at with this question?
Yeah, I'm gonna rock with Josh Allen, considering, if the defense doesn't play well, Josh Allen can keep you in the game. If the offense doesn't play well, you're only 3 points away, and essentially with Josh Allen. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Josh. I like bringing up Myles Garrett though, because you gotta have pressure. It helps out a lot. It helps the team a lot.
It's amazing, but Mahomes is not even Mahomes same age as Josh Allen essentially. And
and we're gonna get to Mahomes in a second, and I want to get to Cook too. But real quick, Stevie, should we just toss AK out of here after that Drake May answer, or what? Like
6 years younger, you got to factor it in. How about another question relating to Josh Allen? Is he back in the MVP conversation?
Are you reading my notes here? Because I have that written down, and the Stafford numbers, I think, are just too strong to overcome. Like, he's like 35 touchdowns, 4 picks. But Allen, in terms of total touchdowns, is there. I think if Allen is going to re-enter this debate, and you can get him at a great number right now on FanDuel.
14-1.
I think you need to, first it starts with beating the Pats. You got to beat the Pats on Sunday, and you need to win the division.
Yeah, agree.
If the Bills can win the division, then Josh Allen 100% deserves to be in that MVP conversation, especially if maybe Seattle can overtake the Rams and take the West.
Winning the division is a tall task. You need 3 Patriots losses in 4 games. That's what you need in order to do
Bills and Ravens could be 2, although the way the Ravens
and then you have the Jets and the Dolphins to finish on the schedule.
We called it weeks ago. This Fins team they're
McDaniel coach of the year. Who knows? You make a late season surge, you win 10 games. I don't know, man. It seems like a stretch.
Just get their Super Bowl number, which is still tasty. I remember I talked you into it when it was 14-1 a couple weeks back. Mm-hmm. So now we are now committed.
We are very symbiotic when it comes to the Bills Super Bowl odds. That's for sure.
Let's talk though next week, because this is now the new game of the year. This is Bills Pats in Foxborough. What's the mindset going into a game like this? A team that
they beat us at home, man. They didn't only beat us, they low-key dominated the Bills in every facet of the game. And you can even include energy, and that's not even a stat. So I'm looking forward to seeing Christian Benford line up against Stephon Diggs and mute him. You have to mute him because he can get energy off of anything, and that energy is spreads with that team. And if we can shut down the nucleus of it, then we won't see the elite Drake May that AK is loving right now.
Well, I also think it's important for the Bills to finish at least as the number 5 seed in the AFC as well, because you get the AFC North team there, whether it's Baltimore or Pittsburgh, and that's a better matchup.
I think you could, I don't know if I want that.
Well, you'd rather see Denver than Baltimore?
I think I would rather.
I don't think Baltimore's good anymore.
I don't either, but I still sort of fear Lamar. And
he's not the same player.
I think I would rather get Jacksonville if Jacksonville's going to win.
I agree. Give me Jacksonville. Now that offense is hot too.
I know.
Liam Cohen has the boys rolling right now.
I would rather play Jacksonville, but Stevie, I think that's a good point, because Benford earlier in the year wasn't really following the best option, and you called for it early, and the Bills were sort of just playing their base, and Benford would go where he was going, versus the last few weeks, he's following the number 1 option. And the difference in that first Bills-Pats game was Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs came in out there. I remember a year ago where that's the Diggs revenge game against Houston, and nothing happened. The true revenge game was when he was back in Orchard Park and won that game for the Bills, dominated the Bills. So I think you put Benford on him, and then you eliminate him, And then I don't know what happens with the rest of the Pats passing game.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Kayshon Boutte's a fine player. Hunter Henry's been good. They're getting some good stuff out of Travion
Bill's number one team against the tight end in the NFL.
There you go. So don't worry about him. But the running backs for New England are coming along as the season has gone on. And obviously Henderson they use a second round pick on, and he's emerged here down the stretch. But I think you nailed it. Let Benford handle the top target for the opposition going forward here. It worked extremely well against Cincinnati, although T. Higgins, man, that guy's a baller.
Yeah.
Baller.
He burned Trey White a couple times, and Trey had a nice few weeks going into that.
Yeah, and he took some big hits, and it looked like he was down and out on multiple
shocked.
occasions.
Where's the concussion
I mean, he's coming off a concussion too, was T. Higgins.
Exactly.
So shout out to him. He deserves a lot of credit. But yeah, Benford's emerged here, and that's just going to be such a great matchup against Diggs coming up next week.
One other big factor, and Stevie, let me get your take on this. The Pats won that game. One, we talked about Diggs, but also they did a great job of shutting down James Cook. James Cook was really struggling in that Pats game. So what's maybe the most important factor offensively for the Bills against New England? Is it sort of you want to get James Cook going and establish the run, or is it more you need Josh to put the cape on and be Superman again?
I'm going to say what Brady did this past game, misdirection, but utilized James Cook in a way where, you think we're going to hit you up with this duel or this counter? Oh, nope. Fake play action. And now I'm either going to go to my tight ends. And if that's not working, let Josh be Josh. So I don't think you force feed Cook. I think we've passed that stage of figuring out what our offense is. Do we feed Cook a lot? Do we find out who's on the outside? We're past that. So I think we do the same thing that we did and utilize our tight ends in the play action game.
Real quick, AK, you got an early lean?
Yeah, the Bills.
Yeah.
It's revenge time, baby. It's revenge time. I think the Buffalo Bills found something in that second half. And I know the Patriots are coming off a bye, which is clearly an advantage, but I wonder how much momentum Buffalo can carry from week to week. And there's a lot of motivations for both sides. New England wins this game, division's over. Mm-hmm. Buffalo wins this game, division could very well be up for grabs. And that'd be a fun storyline down the stretch for us here at Broken Table.
For sure. Now, let's hold the official funeral for the Kansas City Chiefs, because it's over. It's done. And Michael Hall, let's roll the tape. This was me in week 2. I'm gonna take my victory lap here. It's Stevie, love it. But here, let's roll the tape. This was me in week 2. I will be very bold and look into the camera right now. The Chiefs are not making the playoffs. That schedule is too tough. You're in too big of a hole. They got no weapons outside. If Rashee Rice is here, maybe a different story. I'm not saying anything about the Chiefs' greatness, about Mahomes' greatness, about Andy Reid's greatness. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes might be the best quarterback I've ever seen, but this year they are not making the playoffs. Now, let's ignore the fact that weeks later I called the Chiefs the best offense in football and unstoppable. But
according to ESPN, they've got a 16% chance to make still. Are you sure you're just willing to write off Kansas City?
From what I saw yesterday, and Andy Reid cost them that game with that fourth down decision. With how well your defense is playing in that game, you can't go for it on that fourth down. That completely gave the Texans life. It swung the entire game, and now the Chiefs they're
in
done.
Massive trouble. They need to win out and get help.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Even if they win out, I don't think that's enough.
Yeah, no, it's probably 50-50 if they win out, which is unbelievable to think. A season in which Patrick Mahomes was fully healthy. The Kansas City Chiefs could very well miss the postseason and are likely to miss the postseason. But that is great news for the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, because the boogeyman is out of the equation. Not only Mahomes, but also Joe Burrow and potentially also Lamar Jackson.
But Lamar's not the boogeyman. The Bills own. They've dominated.
Mark Andrews figures out how to catch. We might be talking about it in a different way.
Also, the Mark Andrews fumble earlier in that game.
Very true. For the Buffalo Bills, it's just right there for them. Mm-hmm. It's right there for them. Mahomes potentially being out of the postseason, not having to worry about going to Kansas City or Kansas City coming to you. It's just an incredible path, an incredible opportunity for Buffalo here. And it's great to see Mahomes and the Chiefs likely out of the postseason.
Stevie, do you have any words at the funeral for the Kansas City Chiefs?
As much as I want to say they're done, you just never know. You just never know. And the whole thing is the help part, getting help, and that's where you don't want to be in a situation where you need to get to the playoffs, where you need other teams to win or lose. It rarely goes for you. So, yeah, we can kind of 16% count them out.
Here's what I'll say, too. Some good stats from last night. Mahomes ends the game minus 0.54 EPA per dropback. Worst start of his career. 42.4 completion percentage. Worst of his career. 19.8 passer rating. Worst of his career. That comes from Ben Solak. Now, something to note. Josh Allen against the Texans last year and Josh Allen against the Texans this year, very similar. So last night, I don't think it was on Mahomes being bad. This Texans defense is scary, and that is a team that everyone needs to be worried about come playoff time.
Completely agree. And obviously, Kansas City's offensive line was compromised to the point.
That's why I love the Texans. You're missing tackles.
For sure. And Anderson and Hunter and everybody, they were just feasting on a Kansas City O-line that was completely inept and overmatched. And again, Houston, Stevie talked about it a couple weeks ago looking at the Texans. I think he's absolutely right. That could be a team the Bills match up with, who knows, in the AFC title game.
I don't want that.
No, I mean, you take it. I mean, they told you the Bills were in the AFC title game against Houston. You'd be like, sure, let's do it. But, I mean, I'd rather play Houston than Kansas City still to this point. And, it seems unlikely that Kansas City is going to be part of it. So, again, man, it's right there for Buffalo. And this is an opportunity that they may never have again.
Yeah. You know who probably loves the demise of the Chiefs more than anybody? Our lovely sponsor, FanDuel, because Patrick Mahomes is now 9-17 against the spread in his last 26 starts, including 4-11 against the spread versus teams above 500, both of the worst marks for any quarterback in the NFL. And the Chiefs are always one of those chalky teams that people love. And before we move on to the Monday Nighter tonight, let me just hit you with one more great stat, and then, Stevie, you can chime in on this because this is partially related to you. The last AFC title game without either Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady at quarterback was in 2010 when Ben Roethlisberger beat Mark Sanchez.
Wow.
A crazy stat. And you, as someone who went up against Brady so many times and lost, it's mind-boggling what we're seeing. And it's 2025. That's 15 years without these two guys. So, they belong together, Brady and Mahomes. They're arguably the two best quarterbacks I've ever seen. And we're truly seeing a new era now with Mahomes and the Chiefs likely missing the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's what it's about, though. It's you don't know how long it's gonna take for it. Sometimes it's 4, 5. So now this one was 15. But it's a good thing for the fans of the league to see it, though, because it's such a special time seeing this new blood.
I'm just thrilled we don't see shots of Taylor Swift in the suite for supporting there with Travis Kelce.
It's going to be Haley Steinfeld.
Selena Gomez is there now, so I don't know what's going on. But you're right, it will be Haley Steinfeld, and I think that's a great thing for everybody in Bills Nation.
Okay, let's transition to Monday night. Stevie's Eagles, who have not looked great lately, they're in LA. They're taking on the Chargers. Let's go. Let's make a little your way, because I have a best bet that I like, but we've had success with the your ways. The your ways have done well. So my bet that I'm hammering is Gadsden under 38.5. Here's the reason. I talked about the Bills being the best against tight ends this year. The second best team against the tight ends this season is the Eagles. Second best in the NFL against tight ends, 35 receiving yards per game. And that's for all tight ends, not just one player. And Gadsden has been, so I'm going to go for our your way. I'm going to go Gadsden under 45 yards. We're going to buy it up a little bit. He's been under that in 3 straight games. If you look at the peak, it was kind of just a 2 to 3 game peak for him, and it's really fallen off. So I'm going under on that tonight.
See, I'm looking at Kamani Vidal, and I know Omarion Hampton's back, the stud rookie from UNC.
Vidal's been awesome, though.
I don't see them just sliding Hampton back into that number one job. And you heard Harbaugh talk about Kamani Vidal, how good he's been in Hampton's absence. 34.5 rush yards is simply too low, especially against an Eagles team that got destroyed on the ground by Monangai and DeAndre Swift.
Some injuries on the previous week. Defensive line, too.
Definitely.
No Jalen Carter, too.
Let's take him up to 50 plus.
Oh, dear God.
50 plus on my boy Kamani Vidal. So we're getting aggressive. We're getting juicy here on the Your Way, powered by FanDuel. And I really like that bet. I think that's something I'm locking in myself for sure.
All right, Stevie, last leg. Take us home.
All right, for me, I'm going to lock in with Keenan Allen. So they got my guy Keenan locked in at 37 yards. I feel like Keenan's going to get that in one catch, possibly. He's going to at least get half of it on one catch. His targets have been going down on third down from 35% to about 24%, which isn't good. But I feel like this is a game where the Chargers is going to need more horsepower, and it's going to come from Keenan. I also want to add an anytime touchdown for Slayer.
So here we go. Okay, we
are making some serious stacks here. FanDuel's not going to be happy with us once we rinse them for all this cash tonight.
Well, but I was playing it safe with the your way, and you guys are just like, nah. We're unstoppable.
Well, how about a winner of tonight's game? I mean, we've seen the Eagles just fall off a cliff. If they lose tonight, and let's say they lose in decisive fashion, are they going to fire Sirianni on Tuesday morning?
You can't just fire the coach who won the Super Bowl last year.
I mean, this team's falling apart.
They're not Penn State.
A team that just came off a Super Bowl, had a really nice start to the season, and just some of this internal strife that they're dealing with right now, it's crazy.
And you know what it reminds me of? The Philadelphia Eagles of 2 years
or
ago.
2 years ago, yes.
They made the Super Bowl, they lost to the Chiefs, and then the exact same thing happened. They were winning games, but it wasn't really real. It was kind of fugazi. So, like, we've seen this before, but yeah, this is sort of a make or break game for the Eagles tonight. I'm excited. We got a great Monday night.
I cannot wait. Herbert's playing with one hand. I mean, what more could you want?
This whole week, though, was awesome. Like, the NFL is kicking into high gear for the perfect time. We're getting close to playoffs. Stevie, we're jacked up. Play us out.
Yeah, hey, this is another Broken Table production. We thank you for your time. Leave your thoughts or questions in the comments, and then we'll holler at you there, man. Remember, go Bills for life.